Welcome to Discover Marshalltown. Kyle Martin hosting again, and we are outside today, and we've got a couple guests, and we're going to talk about the farmers market, more specifically the downtown Cartwright Pavilion Farmers Market. Tricia Wilder, did I get it right?
No.
No? Doggone it, Tricia. Tricia is the manager of the farmers market, and what is it? What's
Cartwright Downtown.
Cartwright Downtown.
Yep.
Okay.
The structure is named the Cartwright Pavilion, but the market.
Cartwright Downtown Farmers Market. Okay. And we've also got Margaret Holla, who has actually been a vendor here many, many years. And first of all, I'm going to go over to Margaret. Margaret, you were telling us before we started, you have actually been a vendor at the farmers market in one form or another for how long?
Since it started in 73, 4, 5, somewhere in that vicinity down at the 18th Avenue Sale Barn.
Wow.
I think we settled on 76 as a good
Something
average.
Like that.
Okay.
Yes, something like that.
Okay. Now,
long time ago.
yeah, Tricia, how long have you been kind of overseeing the operations here?
This is my first year as the manager, and I took over last fall after the last season ended.
Sure.
And I just started as a vendor last year for the first time myself.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm the newest one, just about. There are a couple new vendors.
Yeah. Well, tell us about the Cartwright Pavilion itself a little bit, because there's some great history to this and why it can only be used for a farmer's market, right?
Right.
Tell me.
Emily Cartwright.
Emily Cartwright, who was Bill Fisher's sister, bought this location, had the pavilion put up, resurfaced, donated back to the city with the understanding that as long as there was a going concern of a farmer's market at this location, the city could not otherwise use or change the
Gotcha.
market because it was donated for the farmer's market.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the great things about filming outside is you get all the nuances of the birds and the cars and the sirens, and in this case
Margaret's husband.
or Margaret's husband coming into the frame. But it sounds like a car alarm is going off
Yes,
nearby.
from Big 8 Tire. It looks like they're trying to work
Yeah,
on a
okay.
vehicle
I
over
think
there.
we're okay now.
You
So we're
got
just
it.
going to keep going. Like,
Why not?
why not? Okay. So, Tricia, vendors, you know, do you look for a certain kind of vendor for this market?
We prefer to get them as close as we can. If there's people that are coming from really far away, we try to encourage them to find somewhere more local to them.
Yeah.
For us, Marshalltown, Marshall County, or neighboring counties is what we usually look for. Obviously producers, anybody with handmade or local artists. We have a metalworks guy, and his name is Mark Grossman, and also Stone Fox Studios, Chantel Warner, who is a local artist, and they also have a little bit of produce and herbs and things like that to sell. And because they're local artists, we like to support that, and I think it kind of fits into a farmer's market theme, you know, handmade. You can come and get your food, your greens, you can come get baked goods, you can look at some art, you can listen to live music.
Right.
I think it all fits together real nicely.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Margaret. I've interviewed Margaret many, many times over the years. Honey, you've been involved in honey.
Yes.
Okay, tell me a little bit about how you got involved in that, because I don't know that we've ever actually talked about. We've talked about you selling it, but okay, how did you get started?
Okay, we had started an orchard and had the orchard for 10 years. We had 60-some fruit trees. Never got any pollination, so I was looking for somebody to come pollinate our orchard. At the same time, I was a vendor down at the 18th Avenue Sale Barn Farmers Market. And a gentleman by the name of Paul Stoner, he lives down by LeGrand, or lived down by LeGrand when he was alive, came in to sell honey a couple of times, and it was enough to have honey at the market, but not enough to warrant spending all of his time there. So he asked me if I wanted to sell his honey for him, and he would bring colonies out and pollinate our orchard every year.
Wow.
So we got started that way, and then we got into honey production because after it got too much for him to do, we just, you know,
Yeah.
we got into it ourselves. We still get nothing off the orchard because we're too involved in the honey business.
Yeah.
But I started selling his honey, and then I started selling our own honey, as well as we had an acre and garden.
Okay.
At one time, we had 150 beehives
Wow.
and an acre and a half in garden, and he was working full time
Wow.
and overtime. That just, I mean, it was one of those facts. You ask me what day, what time, I'll tell you what I'm doing. It was that regimented. We finally started backing off.
Sure.
And he told me several years ago, my husband, that he no longer wanted to work in the garden. It was bothering his back, and I have a bad back also, and we quit gardening, so now we just have honey, and I sew and I crochet.
Well, there you go. And do you sell those at the farmers
Yes.
market as well?
Yes.
They're actually very popular.
Really?
Yeah, the different, you have pot holders and the
I have-
potato bags.
Yeah, I have tater bakers, so you bake potatoes in the microwave. I have the bowl cozies that you put set a bowl in it. You can put it in the microwave or take the bowl out of the microwave and put it in the cozy
Yeah.
and carry it away. You're not getting your hands, fingers burned by whatever you've got in the bowl. I've also got them for plates.
Wow.
And then I've got hot pads to match. I'm making little coin purses, eyeglass cases. A lot of people have to wear cheaters, you know.
Yeah.
And when you travel, you always take an extra pair because
Right.
if you don't, you're going to lose them or break them.
Sure. So there you go. That's great.
Exactly.
It's kind of become a whole cottage industry
Yes.
for you.
Yes.
And that's kind of what farmers markets are all
Right.
about. I mean, it's a
Right.
great way to supplement your income, or it could be your entire income if you have a very nice, you know, a produce garden of some kind. But typically, maybe Margaret can answer this because she's been involved in this for quite a long time. Do you typically see the same vendors, or you get new faces all the time?
Both.
Both.
You have vendors who come year after year. You have customers who come year after year. As they can't, die, move, whatever, you get new ones coming in.
Yeah.
And that is something that we are encouraging, is new vendors, because we've got a vendor that just quit this year. He was 80 years old, and they gardened and
Mr.
baked.
Miller.
Wow.
They were very popular. People
Yeah.
still
Wow.
come looking for them.
Really?
And they came to visit us actually. The Saturday,
Saturday.
was it last Saturday?
Last
yeah.
Saturday.
You know, I don't know, Tricia, that we've talked about the hours.
Oh,
We've talked about the location
Yeah.
at the Cartwright Pavilion, but when are you out here?
The
Everyone-
address for the Cartwright Pavilion, people don't know that.
Well, if you want to put it in your GPS, yeah.
it is actually 108 North 2nd Ave. And
108.
actually, if you Google Cartwright Pavilion, it'll pop up on your maps, and you can say take directions, and it'll take you right here.
Awesome. Okay, so when are we out here?
Every Wednesday from 4 to 7, and Saturday morning from 9 to 12. And historically, Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings have always been the days
Pretty.
since since 1985.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, even when we were down at the sale
Yeah.
barn, it was Wednesday afternoon, Saturday
Carried over.
morning.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Very good. We're going to take a break. You're listening, or you're watching Discover Marshalltown. We'll be back with more right after this.
can you take this away? I don't feel safe with the gun in my house.
Welcome back to Discover Marshalltown. Kyle Martin hosting, and we've got Tricia Wilder and Margaret Holla from the downtown Cartwright Farmers Market. And we're actually under the pavilion here today on a kind of a cloudy day. Did I do it wrong? Again? We're pretty close. You know, let's just say we're at the farmers market today at the Cartwright Pavilion. How about, anyway, Margaret, you have a great story about basically the history on how the farmers market started.
Yeah. My husband and I had a garden at home that was approximately 60 by 80 foot. And John Tompkins was a Marshalltown rural mail carrier, saw my big garden, and he stopped one day to talk to me and said, I'm starting a farmer's market at the 18th Avenue sale barn. If you've got anything extra to bring, come on up. And I started with tomatoes. I had a lot of tomatoes that year, and went from there.
So it was a mail carrier
Yes.
that just
Rural mail carrier.
and just decided.
Yeah.
Margaret just shushed her husband who's off camera.
He's not supposed to be in this.
That's
interview.
okay. That's all right. Wow, that's interesting that's how it started.
Yeah.
I think so.
That
yeah.
is okay.
Really cool story, and it just started with a group of Marshalltown people
Yeah.
that came
Right.
together to sell produce to the public.
Clarence and Donna Miller, I don't think were at the first few, but they were there the first year. Cora Yetley and Mabel Smith from Green Mountain were there.
Claire Long.
Claire Long came with sweet corn that year, and there were a couple of other people came with sweet corn, and we had 10, 12, maybe 15 vendors down there before we moved up here.
So this was like 1970,
Yeah.
whatever, 4 or 5, somewhere in that range.
Mid-70s, we'll say.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy smokes,
And
that's
the
like-
Millers were there the first year too, and this is the first year they haven't been able to do it.
Wow, that's like
And-
44, 45 years ago.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. Tricia Wilder is kind of taken over management of this, and Tricia, I'm going to circle back to you here. We're doing some different things here, some different marketing, we've got a little entertainment, we've got fun stuff for the kids. Talk a little bit about some things we're doing differently.
We're trying to focus on more community activities instead of just here to sell produce. We're trying to offer things to the community, especially for families, something to come do on an evening or morning out. So there's usually a kids area set up with coloring, chalk, bubbles, maybe a craft sometimes. And we do have live music from the Prairie Creek String Band on Saturdays and the Back Yonder Boys on Wednesdays. And we also have spoken and started working with several different organizations like ISU, the Master Gardeners, 4-H, the Public Library. We're part of their reading program. The kids can come here and get points for the reading program there. And today, as a matter of fact, we have the Marshall County Master Gardeners coming with because it's Pollinator Week. So to celebrate Pollinator Week, they are going to be here with honey cornbread samples from different types of honey made from different different flowers that the bees ate to make the honey.
Okay.
I believe I have that right.
Okay. That's all right. I can't get the name of the farmer's market right, so it's okay.
The earlier in the year the flower blooms, of course they're using, they're making whatever is blooming. The bees are making honey out of whatever is blooming. The earlier in the year the flower blooms, the lighter the flavor, the lighter the color. As it progresses, then the flavor gets stronger, the color gets darker. So if you're allergic to ragweed is a popular one, you want honey produced at the time ragweed is blooming.
Really?
Yes.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I bet you didn't know
Because
that.
I had no idea. That is
Because
very interesting.
The honey contains minute particles of whatever plant
Sure.
they gathered nectar from, and people can usually tolerate that minute amount, and it helps with their allergies.
Helps with their immune system.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. You hear about the medicinal, you know, honey has so many different things that it can help out with.
Yes,
you know,
for sure.
Holistic.
Yes.
You know, remedies for honey.
Oh yeah,
I
if
hear
you
about
burn
those.
yourself, put honey on it. Not butter, it's got salt. That's bad for drying it out. You want honey to keep it soft and lubricated. It lessens the scarring.
See,
Fact.
look at this. We're getting medical advice as well here on Discover Marshalltown. Okay, so we're actually just adjacent to the Binford House. The relationship, it's been a very long, fruitful, and
Yes.
good relationship. Now, the tornado probably did a little bit of damage to this park. I know it did damage to Big 8 Tire
Oh,
just
yeah.
across the way here, but not so much the pavilion itself, right?
This is a very sturdy structure. You can look around. Those are, I believe, iron frames. Yeah, we had shingles that got damaged. I think all the gutters got ripped off.
Okay.
And other than that, it's just fine.
Yeah. So what goes on at the Binford House? Margaret was saying that there are things, I mean, I know what goes on. I mean, the stuff that's inside.
Right.
But there are, you know, there are a lot of groups that meet there. They have teas and they have, you know, dinners and Valentine's dinners and stuff like that. But I mean, what the relationship with the farmers market?
Okay, they had they called it the barn. I think originally it was a stable.
Okay.
But it was big enough to house a vehicle or two, right over here. And they had their garage sale or craft sale, whatever flea market sale, in the parking area and in the barn. And the
Right over
tornado
there.
destroyed that. And they are still holding their garage sales.
I believe it's the second Saturday of every month.
So the same time
At
as
the
the
same time as
okay.
the farmers market, and we both benefit.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's usually a very busy day on those Saturdays.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
Saturdays are usually pretty steady anyway, but that usually picks up a little extra.
Right.
And how it works is they have donated items that could come from anywhere or anyone, and then they sell them garage sale style, and they use that funding to help maintain the Binford House.
Okay. Okay. Parking. We haven't talked about, but there's ample parking out
Yes. It depends on the day and the activity.
Yeah,
I-
and
so-
there's-
Okay,
as
I
the-
say ample because we're the only ones here right now.
yeah, there is a parking lot right over here.
Yeah.
That is usable and is used by people that come to.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that actually belongs to Great Western back when they had enough employees to need an employee
Okay.
parking lot.
But this is all
This is all
being
part of
utilized.
the Cartwright's property, and the vendors usually fill up these parking stalls here and then have their tables set out inside so the customers walk down the middle. And then food trucks we put in the parking lot along the alley right there. And as the season goes on, we are going to see days where all of the produce is in and all of the seasonal vendors are here, and they're going to end up moving that way down the parking lot
Sure.
and taking some of the customer
Okay.
parking stalls.
Okay, that's
And then
good.
this Saturday we have a pretty full, I believe I have the pavilion full and the street full with the craft fair. So it's going to be pretty fun this
Wow.
Saturday.
Wow. Okay. What about food? I know you always try to have a vendor here.
We just, Kaela's just signed on. They have Indian tacos. They're from Tama. They're pretty popular locally, I found out. And they're going to be here, I think, every Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesdays for sure. And then on Saturdays, we have the Apple Wagon from the Appleberry Farm. They have apple cider mini donuts and slushies and breakfast burritos. And then on most Saturdays, we have Claire's Tenderloins. And he's starting a breakfast menu as well with a few things. So when he's here on Saturdays, he can start with the breakfast menu and then transition over to his very popular tenderloins.
It's very
Very popular.
Oh.
People follow him around town wherever he is. He makes posts on Facebook and they'll
Okay.
just show up to get their tenderloin.
We talked a little bit about some of the entertainment that you've tried to. You talked about the bands. I know you always try to have stuff for the kids as well. I mean, it could
Yeah.
It could be face painting, it could be chalk art. I mean, I know you have always tried to have something to occupy the children while their parents and grandparents are maybe doing a little shopping.
Right, right.
Yeah.
We always try to have something. The market did purchase some general supplies like for coloring, chalk art, bubbles, outdoor games. And then I myself love crafts. I used to take my kids to the kids art studio at the Central Iowa Art Association when it was still open. And I actually have a whole room in my house that's just full of craft supplies. So I bring some of them down, you know, like what do I feel like making with the kids today, and bring it down and put it out on the table for the kids to make stuff out of. Very
good. So personally, what kind of produce do you sell? You've said you were a vendor, or still are a vendor, but I mean, what do you grow?
I grow my own food, but I bake lots of cookies and
you're
breads
a baker.
Yes.
And they're baked goods here too?
Yeah, we have a few different bakers actually, and a pretty good variety. I like to rotate my menu, so I'll have cookies, breads, cakes, brownies, Rice Krispie treats. I make dog treats sometimes, and you never know, something sweet usually. Yeah. I don't really make the health stuff.
That's okay. That's okay.
And I have a lot of things that I have to make pretty regularly because people come back for them. You know, they really like the monsters. They really like oatmeals. Yeah. And the big fat chewy chocolate chips are always a classic.
What's not to love about that?
Right.
Margaret, I know honey, but what other? You don't do the garden anymore, but what did you sell? I mean, for a lot of years.
For a lot of years, I had carrots, beets, green beans, cabbage, broccoli, kohlrabi, onions, potatoes, sometimes a little sweet corn.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. I have a first cousin that grew sweet corn, and he would, come get.
Wow.
So we'd get, and then I'd bring a few. I brought a pickup load up one time and sold it for him. This was before we were a produce your own, grow your own market.
Yeah.
But a little bit of everything.
You know,
strawberries, apples.
Tricia Wilder joining us here, and one of the things you were telling me, ways to pay. Tell me the point system, or the little.
The token
it's
system.
The token. I want to say chip, but it's a token. Tell me that system.
Well, we have a central information booth that I put actually between me and Margaret, so we can both kind of operate it. We put information out to like recipes and community events and things like that. And we have a credit card terminal at this information booth that is connected to the farmers market. It goes to the business account for the farmers market. Well, we're a nonprofit, but we have the one account. And when a customer comes that wants to use a card or a SNAP card, the food stamp cards, and the vendor doesn't take it, most of them don't, they can come to our booth. We charge their card and give them tokens that they then go and spend with the vendors. There's one kind for the SNAP, and there's one kind for debit credit card, treated as cash.
That's a great idea. And
we have the Double Up Bucks. That's a piggyback program from the USDA that works with the SNAP with the SNAP program. So every day a customer comes, they can purchase SNAP tokens and then be matched dollar for dollar up to 10 free coupons, 10 $1 coupons that can be used on produce only.
Also a very good idea.
Yes.
Wow. Very forward thinking.
Yes. So basically, if they're lower income and they're on the SNAP program, their SNAP dollars are worth twice as much here, basically.
Man, you can't go wrong.
Right.
All right.
I think it's really good for our community.
Okay, I'm going to ask you again the hours of the farmers market. Could you please tell us?
Every Wednesday night, 4 to 7, and Saturday mornings, 9 to 12. And our last day is going to be October 30th with a trunk and treat for the kids.
Sounds good. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Kyle Martin along with Tricia Wilder and Margaret Holla. This is another edition of Discover Marshalltown.